So today, end of January, and we're going to be shrink wrapping this boat here today. It's a little dirty, as you can see. Story on this one is end of January, lots of snow, cold up here. Guy's actually moving up to Northern Ontario. Normally I would wash the boat, make sure it's all clean before I start putting heat and plastic to it. The fact that he's going to be back on the road with this, and it's going to be probably in worse condition by the time he gets to where he's going. It's an 18 to 20 hour drive, so it's kind of irrelevant right now. So just a basic boat here right now. We're just going to go through it quick. We'll be touching on more shrink wrap as the season progresses, normally into the fall. So this is just a basic shrink wrap. I'm going to run it through. Let's get started. What I'm looking at doing here right now is just getting a rough idea of where I need to be in terms of a frame. We want to keep it somewhat low enough so that he can transport and it's not too much of an issue on the highway. But we also want to keep it high enough because he is going to be up to where there's a big snow load, and we want to make sure that the snow is going to come off and not cause any issue. So right now we're looking going to be about 5 feet, so I'm going to go ahead here and cut 2 legs at 5. Something else that I want to point out here too is the lumber that I'm using is rough stock 2x2, so it actually measures at 2 inches by 2 inches, and I'm using 1x4 as my crossboards. And the reason I like using the heavier lumber on the legs is for snow load, and it just, I mean, I reuse all my frames annually, so these last a while once they're made up. We usually label them customer names. They go into storage. In the fall we take them out and the frames go right back into the boat. Saves us a ton of time, which is awesome because we do a pile of boats. So now I'm going to go ahead here and mark out where I want my legs to be, and we're going to get screwing them in. I'm actually going to cut a third one here at 5 feet, and I'll show you why in a few minutes here once we get the frame into the boat. Just something that I like to do. Personal preference. Probably highly recommended. But anyways, once we get in there, I'll show you what I mean. Cut here now, and we're going to go ahead and screw these into the markings that we already have. So just so you know, I am using 3-inch wood screws. I like using the 3-inch. They go all the way through to the other side. That allows me to flip it over without anything falling apart. And putting some in from the other side. Screwed in. What we're going to do next is we're going to put in some supports in between the legs and front and back, and what that does, that's going to stiffen this frame right up. It's going to be solid and we're not going to have to worry about it. And for that, usually whatever scraps you have left over from cutting, we usually end up with quite a bit, and we just stick them in wherever they need to be, preferably like around the knots and stuff like that, any place where it could potentially break. We want to make sure we have one of these in there. It just adds that much more support to the frame, less you have to worry about. And there's no real measurement on this, it's just going to be whatever you need. I'm sorry I'm not showing you guys this, but I'm assuming that if you're watching and you're curious on how all this goes together, I'm sure you know how to work a drill and how to work a screw. It's not rocket science, so just a little bit easier right now, and if we need to in the future, we'll get a little bit more into depth. So there we go. We have all our supports in, legs are in, all screwed from this side. What we're going to do here now is going to flip it on end. We're going to finish screwing everything in. if you've noticed this or not as they're going through, legs from the first side both got 2 screws. On this side, only 1. I usually try to space them out enough on the other side that I can jam one right in the middle basically on this side. You don't want to put too many screws in here because chances are when you go to reuse the frame, you're probably going to have to tighten it up with another screw or 2. And you don't want to overload it right off the bat. Supports, pieces that we put in between here, 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and depending on the length that you're going to, or if it's going to be a support piece, if you're joining 2 pieces of the frame together, you're going to want to put a few more in there. Just use common sense. Sometimes more the better, but you don't want to throw in too much and your wood starts splitting apart on you. Okay, so there we go. Frame is totally assembled here right now. So what we're going to do next, this boat does have a vinyl floor in it. We're going to take some of our shrink tape. We're going to put that across the bottom here so that when it's standing up inside the boat, it reduces any risk of scuffing and whatnot. Okay, so here we go. I run 2 sizes of shrink tape, 2-inch, 4-inch. Whatever you want to use here is going to be sufficient. I just wanted to show you this in advance. So here we go. We're going to tape up our legs. And then too, with the shrink tape too, I'm not going to be able to see this here or not. I do get the serrated edge. It makes tearing this off a lot easier. There is straight edge as well. Sometimes you can tear it, sometimes you can't. Whenever you're up on a ladder or you're looking to get a job done quicker, you pay a little bit more for this, not a whole heck of a lot, but it definitely comes in handy. Okay, so there we go. Nothing fancy. We're just looking at protecting a floor. So there we go. I'm just going to flip this over here now. And we're just going to get prepped up here for lifting this into the boat. Something else that you're going to notice now is going to be these ends. So what I usually do with that is take a shop rag that I have, preferably a clean one. You don't really want to be putting a oily, dirty rag into a customer's boat. They tend not to be too happy in the spring whenever they call you back. We're just going to fold that in half, so something like that. And whatever works here, you can use a piece of carpet, old t-shirt, whatever. This is the easiest thing I have that I have lots of. And it's probably a little bit more professional on the business side of things. You don't really want to be using your old t-shirt. I'm going to tape the front here now, and then we're going to be ready to put this in the boat and get it tied up. Alright, so there we go. So now we're able to get our string, and we're going to tie this into the boat. Okay, so here it goes. Usually a one-person job here for these smaller boats. You start getting into the bigger ones, you're going to want someone to hold this for you. So in terms of tying this off, we're going to use some Shrinkwrap strapping. This I think is 1/2 inch in diameter or width, and comes on a bigger roll than this, but this is getting to the tail end. So what you want to look for, I apologize if you can't really see these, but any cleats or any strong tie-off points, you don't want to tie into your cables and anything that's going to break or move. So you want something solid. This is going to be your main support for the frame, and you just don't want anything to happen. So here goes. I'm just going to move this out of the way. I like to start in the middle if I can. It gives you just a little bit more support versus trying at an end, and then the whole frame's going to want to walk one way or the other. Nothing special for knots. Just 2 double overhands and you're pretty much good to go. Lift this up here and you just kind of wash for everything. So there we want to be center of the boat, and you can usually tell this by the back motor or an eye hook, and obviously the front of the boat. So what we're going to do here now is we've got our string tied off here on one side. We're just going to loop this around once, and that back down. And then once you put pressure on that, as long as everything's steady, it's not going to go anywhere. So we're going to bring this down about 6 inches away from where you're tying off. You're just going to make a loop in your string, something just like that. You're just going to take that. You want to keep pressure on that, and this is why I'm biting down on it. You don't keep pressure, it's just going to want to fall on you, and you don't want to break anything. So anyways, here you go. You're just going to feed it through your eyelet or wherever you're strapping down to. You're going to pull that snug. Something like that. Pinch them together so everything's nice and tight. Just come around. And we're just going to keep that like that for now. It makes adjusting this easier after we're all tied in. And we're just going to kind of make sure that we're staying straight here. And now we're going to go to the back and we're going to do the same thing. You're able to pull down on that a little bit, give her some strength, make her good and tight. Just trying to keep it straight, and this is where your support comes in handy up here. The 2x2s that we put in across the top, if you don't put those in anywhere between these points, that frame's going to want to squish together, and then you kind of end up with like, you know, a zigzag frame front to back. This makes for a nice straight line. Good and solid, don't have to worry about it breaking, and don't have to worry about it moving and flexing. So off to the front. now that we're tied in here, we're a little crooked, so all we're going to do here is just going to straighten this up the best we can. Make sure we're not on anything. That's going to be nice and solid up there. Center on the boat, we just want to make sure that we're straight and everything's good. Just going to reposition the camera here for a minute. I want to show you something at the front, but other than that, we're good and solid here across. I'm going to do a double knot here on our center one where we started, and that'll tighten that up. And other than that, the frame's installed. All right, everyone. This is what I wanted to show you whenever I was first doing up the frame. The front of this boat here, as you can tell right here, there's a storage compartment there. Could you have put the front or the leg up on top of that? Yes, probably. I like to try and avoid putting the legs on any compartments that lift up and down. You know, you get some boats that they're getting pretty funky inside. The last thing you want to do is to cause a break or damage a hinge or a compartment, and the customer's looking at you in the spring basically to repair that for them on a 20-year boat that's rotten front to back, right? So on this one, that's not the case. Just wanted to try and keep it off of there. And I'm going to show you here through the boat basically how we did the rest, and I'm going to try to get this thing to focus for you. So there you go, legs are down, vinyl floor, it's protected, not going to cause any damage. And if you can see right down the center of the boat there, we're straight, it's all good, we're prepped here now. That's all we have to do up here. Now one other thing though, right here at the front, I just got to watch my step. We're running, and let me see if I can get a better picture of this for you. We're about maybe 4 or 5 feet from our last string to the front. It's pretty solid, and once we put the plastic on there, we're not going to have to worry too much about it. But what we're going to do is I'm going to take a string and I'm going to run it from here, basically. We're going to run it down to the front of the boat here. And that's just going to help steady it up a little bit. And it's also going to give us a nice spot here at the front where our wrap's going to attach to. And just going to make it that much more solid. So here we go. All right, so like I said, we're just going to take the string here, take a couple feet off, and we're just going to tie one right around here. So I actually think I might change my plan here. What we're going to do is we're going to tie into the trailer underneath here. We're actually going to do another wrap around here. Coming from there down is not really going to do us a whole lot. We're going to pull everything forward. So we're just going to wrap this around, tie off to the frame. That'll make it 100% solid. We won't have to worry about anything or anything moving while this thing's going down the road. Same idea here, and I'll get the camera down here to show you this. Again, we just wrapped it around, we're tied off to the trailer. We're going to come to the inside of the trolling motor. We're going to come right down to the trailer here again. Same as up top, we're just going to make a loop 6 inches from where we want to tie. Cut off some string. Be able to give us that cinched up knot that we're looking for, and we're just going to pull this tight. We're not going to pull overly tight because we don't want to pull it to the front, but just enough so that there's pressure on it. And there we go. looking down the front of the boat. We're pretty centered. Just gonna tap that over just a hair. And we're gonna be on to the next step. Okay, next step. So ideally, whenever you're doing this, you want to know what size of wrap you're dealing with. If you're only doing 1 or 2 boats, pretty straightforward. If they're going to be the same size, you know what size of wrap you're going to use. I usually keep 3, 4, 5 different sizes of wrap on hand, and obviously for a lot of the bigger boats. The smallest I keep on hand is 14 feet wide, and that gives me a good start anyways on the small stuff up to the mid-range stuff. So what you want to do here right now is trying to determine what size of wrap you want to use. It's going to go to the top of the frame, you're going to come down to the gunwale of the boat, and you're going to come down to where you want your wrap to run. Usually we're running somewhere around 12 inches or so from the top of the gunwale, and this is going to depend on boats, obviously, cruisers, pontoon boats, things like that. So this one here, you know, we're coming down. We're not even hitting 6 feet where we want to be. So 14 feet is going to be lots. So after that, once you determine what size of wrap you're running and where you got to run your string, obviously we got to run our string on the outside of the boat. That's how the shrink wrap gets tacked in. If you can reuse the same places where you tied it on the frame, that's awesome. Good anchor points, and there's not going to be a lot of stress on this, but you need somewhere to tie into. So we're going to come down this boat here. We're going to run probably about 8-9 inches from the top of the gunwale, and that's going to be a good distance all the way around. And again, the same thing that you did up here, just fold them over, tying a normal knot just to make a loop, and cut off. And there you go. You're going to keep doing this around. You're going to need probably 2 to 3 per side, front, middle, back, usually. Sometimes more, sometimes less. One of the things though, when you're working with a knife, the last thing you want to do is come up to the side, scratch someone's boat. My rule of thumb, and it might be a little silly, I always cut towards myself. I'm going to heal. I really don't want to put in 10 hours of time to fix my screw up, basically. So we're going to continue on here. Hopefully I'm going to stay in frame. So we're going to go right to the front here on this one. And we're going to do the same thing on the front cleat. Come down, and we're keeping the same distance. Just want to kind of eyeball it a little bit. Make our loop, and away we go. Size of this boat, and the way I'm doing this, I only need two string holders on this side. I'm going to flip around to the other side and do that. Okay, so there we go. I did the same thing on the other side as what we did on this side. Same thing, but 8-9 inches down, trying to keep a straight line across the boat. So our next thing now is we're going to run the string. And you probably see me using this fancy little holder here. This works awesome. You're going to see it in action here in a second, but even going around the boat and tying those on, just so nice. You just pull as you need. You can set your tension with the nuts here on top, but anyways, it's not required, but it keeps your roll of string nice and clean and handy and saves some time as well. So we're just going to walk around here now. We're going to leave that down there. We're going to go through the first loop, and we're just going to keep pulling along the boat. We're going to hit all the loops all the way. Now, normally up front here, and I know I don't have the camera set up, I like to go through the bow eye. The fact that he's going to be trailering this to try to keep it as tight to the boat as possible. Sometimes I'll go around the winch setup at the front. Some people do come in requesting that, keeps the snow and the weather off there. Only problem with doing that this time around is we're gonna be leaving a gap here. And when he's trailering, obviously it's gonna be behind the vehicle. All that slush and snow is gonna wanna come up and go inside of the boat, and we wanna keep that out basically. So we're gonna go right through the bow eye here. Feed through on the other side, same way as we did on that side there. Now I'm going to show you this in a second, but we're going to come underneath the motor here, and we want to make sure that our string's going to stay up high for us. So being the hull type and everything on here, we're actually going to go right around the motor and we're going to tie it off this way. So again, the same thing. You're just going to want to make a loop in the end. Same loop that you've been making all the way through. And you're going to grab your string on this side. And if you're able to pull it that way, that's pretty much going to level you right up. And you're going to want to leave yourself some room, obviously, to make a knot. Just cut some off here. That up pretty tight. We're just going to make a single loop right now. And we want to come around, we want to make sure that our loops here are straight up and down. You don't be one way or the other. Because what will happen if they are all one way, or they're not straight up and down, whenever you do go around and start tacking in your plastic, this is probably going to loosen off on you. And you just got to go back and tighten it back up. So we want to prevent any of that. We're just going to make sure that it's tight. We're running the string exactly where we want it. I'm going to go around the other side here. And there we go. You want to have it tight, but you don't want to have it too tight where you can't put your hand or plastic up in there. Because you got to remember, we're going to be putting plastic over here, and you're going to be turning and tucking the plastic in behind here. So, you have all that plastic all the way around. It's going to make that really tight. This is nice right here. Nice little snap to it. So what we want to do now is we're going to come back here. We're going to double knot this. And we are ready for plastic. Okay, so one thing I want to show you here, I put the customer's cover up here in the front, as you can see. This isn't a paid promotion or anything like this, and I don't know where this theory came from. All I can say is that I haven't had a problem since I've been doing it. So bounce sheets, and it doesn't matter which ones they are. I do like stuffing, if we're leaving the cover inside of the boat, stuffing some bounce sheets in and around the cover. Theory on this is that it repels mice, and it's going to prevent the mice from chewing on your cover. The fact he's going to Northern Ontario, probably going to be some rodents. This boat's going to be parked in a field, so hopefully that's not the case, but we're doing our best here. So I'm not sure if it's just a bounce thing or if it's a dryer sheet thing. I have no idea. We use bounce. We actually have customers that bring us bounce sheets to actually use on their boat. And the other thing I want to show you here too is this post ended up being very close to the seat, and it could have rubbed and it could not have. But what I did was I just moved the leg out a little bit, stuffed the shop rag in there. It's good and solid and it's up there now. Not going to cause any other damage. I'd rather sacrifice a shop rag than have to replace or repair someone's seat down the road. So there we go. I'm just going to do a walk around here of the boat here for you, and you're going to see how the string is all done up, and we're cinching down on this, which is all right. It's going to actually pull this in here a little bit, the string that we ran up top, and we're going to be able to tuck our plastic in underneath there. And same here, through the bow eye and the other side of the boat here as we go around. So here we go. And then at the back here as well, you want to keep it up as much as you can. This is sometimes where you're going to run into a problem. Not sure if you can see this here. That'll focus. The curvature of the hull. Sometimes your string's going to want to pull down here. But usually once you get some tension and some pressure on it, it's not going to go anywhere. And whenever we tuck our wrap up underneath of that, it's definitely not going to go anywhere. So around the back side of the motor here, this is what we did. Not worried too much about chafing or anything in here. Again, we're going to be tucking plastic up in here. So that's going to be a protective barrier as well. So there you go, just some tips and tricks. And then I guess one other thing that we just want to go through here quick, our windshield. So right here, see if I can get this for you. So the wrap's going to come down. There is going to be some pressure on the windshield. He's well supported though. It's a piece of plexiglass. What we want to make sure though is that when you get a snow load or any kind of flex in the plastic itself, it's not going to cause a break on the windshield. Most of the times, if I can, I'll remove them if they're quick and easy. This one's been bolted in a few times, and it's going to be a lot of work to take that off of there. I'm not overly too concerned about this, and being just a piece of plexiglass, I do know the customer. I don't think this is going to be an issue, and I don't think it's going to be an issue anyways going forward. We should be well supported, and I'll show you what I do around the windshields when I am heating it with the heat gun on the plastic, but we'll get to that when we're there.